Yo, what's up, everyone? You're listening to the Daily Unfucking Your CX, where I fix what's broken in customer experience in under 15 minutes. I'm Zack Hamilton, your host, and I'm looking forward to unfucking today. Yo, what's up, everyone? Look, I saw a LinkedIn post today, and you know, I guess the CX industry or discipline, it's starting to mature, starting to grow up. And we're starting to talk about business outcomes, which is great. I mean, I thought we've been talking about business outcomes for 20 plus years, but I guess it's only been really the true CX leaders who's been getting anything done, who've been talking about business outcomes. But it doesn't matter how much we talk about outcomes or revenue or churn if you don't know how to drive it. And so I'm going to unfuck this in the next 15 minutes because I saw a post this morning that perfectly captures what's happening across the CX industry right now. It was titled Executive's Guide to Customer Experience Value. And the graphic listed 6 revenue multipliers for CX. And I'll read them to you. Multiply value, creating by freeing up, value rescuing. Multiply revenue by walking the talk, integrity. Multiplying revenue by syncing everything to customers. Empower high potentials to multiply revenue. VOC inspired growth multiplies revenue. Stopping bad CX multiplies revenue. Now, look, before I start swinging here, let me say something important. The direction of this actually has good intent. It does. Because for years, the CX industry talked about things like NPS and CSAT and journey maps and voice of customer programs without ever connecting those to business performance. So seeing CX discussions start to use words like revenue, is progress. But here is the truth that gets so uncomfortable to most CXers. This graphic is a perfect example of the CX industry talking about outcomes without actually understanding how outcomes happen. Because none of these 6 things are actually operating mechanisms. They're slogans. They sound strategic. They sound executive. But they don't actually tell an organization what to do differently. So let's walk through them. Number 1, multiply value, creating by freeing up, value rescuing. What the fuck does that actually mean? What is value rescuing operationally? And what team does that? Or better yet, what system enables it? What decision framework determines where value is rescued versus created? Now, it's a nice phrase, but it's not a mechanism. Number 2, multiply revenue by walking the talk, integrity. Again, great leadership principle. honestly. But if your CX strategy depends on everyone suddenly having better integrity, that's not a strategy. That is hope. Businesses don't scale on principles, they scale on systems. Number 3, multiply revenue by syncing everything to customers. Sure, everyone agrees with that. But here's the real question: how? How does the organization decide which customer problem to fix first? Because the reality is, there are hundreds of customer frictions in every business: product friction, delivery friction, service friction, digital friction, operational friction, employee friction. So, which ones get prioritized? Which one gets engineering time? Which one gets budget? That's where experience strategies typically fall apart. Because syncing to customers is easy to say, but prioritizing customer problems against every other business initiative is extremely hard. And until you've been there and done it yourself and have failed 4 prioritization sessions in a fucking row, you're not going to get it. Number 4, empower high potentials to multiply revenue. Okay. So now we're basically in leadership development territory. And like, what determines what's a high potential? And high potential in what? Accounting? Or are we talking about high potential in operations? Again, not wrong, but also not a CX operating model. Number 5, VOC inspired growth multiples. VOC inspired growth multiplies revenue. Well, here's where the industry really gets stuck, because we've been hearing this for almost 2 decades. If we listen to customers, growth will follow. And sometimes it's true, but listening alone does not create growth. Removing high value friction creates growth. Those are 2 very different things. And personally, this one's my favorite. Number 6, stopping bad CX multiplies revenue. Of fucking course it does. Who in their right mind is disagreeing with that? I mean, come on. But here's the question the graphic never answers: how? How does the business decide which bad CX to stop first? Because again, there's hundreds of problems, and every problem is competing against technology upgrades, product roadmaps, marketing investments, cost reduction initiatives, regulatory work. Look, inside real organizations, good ideas don't automatically get fixed. They get prioritized. And prioritization requires a completely different system than what most CX frameworks talk about, especially your customer experience ones, CXM. This is the fundamental issue I see across the CX industry right now. We're starting to talk about revenue, but we still don't have, or we haven't built the operating model that actually produces it. Because the real journey from customer insight to business impact doesn't look like a list of multipliers. It looks like a decision system: signal, insight, translation, influence, prioritization, internal selling, execution, then impact. And most CX strategies stop at best step 3, signal, insight, translation. They get very good at explaining what customers are experiencing, but they don't own the system that determines which problems matter most, which ones get fixed first, and which ones actually receive resources. And until CX leaders start owning that part of the equation, the industry will keep producing beautiful graphics about revenue without actually driving it. Because revenue doesn't come from CX slogans or morals or values. Revenue comes from systematically removing the frictions that block growth. And doing that requires something much more powerful than a list of multipliers. It requires an operating system for customer driven execution. And that's where the next evolution of CX has to go. Not just listening, not just translating, not just storytelling, but building the fucking system that moves from customer signal to friction identification to business case to prioritization to execution. Because insight alone has never, will never, and doesn't change organizations, and neither do your slogans. Execution does. And quite frankly, experience is not something you manage. It's something you perform. And that is today's Daily Unf cking. Well, that's it for today's Daily Unf cking. If this made you think, follow the show, share it with someone that's still stuck in 2019 CX. I'll see you tomorrow.